For my bird's eye view, I decided to go with a Game of Thrones theme, where I chose certain characters and events to represent my family dynamic. First, I will begin with the representation of my family members. For my father, I chose Eddard Stark. Eddard looks to have a hard exterior, but is always there for his family. He constantly worries about their safety and will protect them at all costs. Although he has a serious exterior, he is always there for words of wisdom and is never too busy to care for his family. Next is my mother, who I decided to represent with Catelyn Stark and Septa Mordane. My mother relates to Catelyn because above all she puts her children first in her life. She gives them support, love, and guidance as best as a mother can. I also see my mother as Septa Mordane because she is the one who disciplines and raises the children. My mom is more Catelyn than Septa, but it works perfectly for my family. Next off is my oldest sibling, my brother Grant, who I decided to best represented by Jon Snow. In this series, he is the half-sibling to the Stark children, which is fitting since Grant is also a half-sibling to me. I see our relationship to be the same as the relationship between Jon Snow and Arya Stark. They are closer than most and are always joking around. We laugh and can always depend on one another, but most of all, we always make sure to say how much we love each other every time we part. Next is my eldest sister Alyssa, who I represented with Daenerys Targaryen. Daenerys is a kind-hearted, giving character who is like a mother to people who serve her. For a time, Alyssa was like a mother to me. She was always there for me and offered me help in anything she could help me with. She's my best friend and truly my own Daenerys. Next is my sister Victoria, who I represented with Sansa Stark. Sansa for a time didn't get along with her siblings. They fought over stupid things and just didn't get along. But after a time apart, she grew to miss them and they all became closer than ever. My sister and I follow somewhat the same. In our past, our fighting was never ending over the dumbest things, but now I love her, having her around. She's an amazing friend to me and one of my most amazing people in my life. Lastly, I represented myself with Arya Stark. I see myself in her because she was rebellious, brave, and doesn't always know how to keep her mouth shut. She talks big and acts big, but she's just a little girl being tough. Next off is my family subsystems. For my marital system, I chose the marriage of Khal Drogo and Daenerys Targaryen. It seemed like an odd match, being that the two seemed to come from very different worlds, but they loved each other endlessly and became inseparable. My parents' marriage was a surprise to most since they have so many years between them, but no matter how it may look on the outside, they still have a strong love for one another. For my parental subsystem, however, I chose the marriage of Catelyn and Eddard Stark. Above all else, what they care for most is their children. They try to raise them in a world far less corrupt than others, and would do anything to keep their children safe and happiest. Next is my siblings, and I feel are best represented by the Martell family and with the words of House Tully. The Martells are a tight-knit family who would do anything for each other. They are always there to defend, avenge, and protect one another, but most of all they love and care. I also chose the Tully words because my siblings, our family, comes before anything else. Lastly, for my extended family, I chose Bannermen to best represent them. My extended family may only get together on special occasions, but when we are together, we all are friends, and whenever there is a time of need, I can always depend on all of my family to be there for me. Next off is my family hierarchy and communications. My family is very patriarchal, and I believe the Lannister family best represents each member in my family. First we have my father, who is the head of the house, who is best represented by Tywin Lannister, the father of all the Lannister children. What it boils down to is that when he makes decisions, there is not much that can be done to sway his opinion. Next is my mother, who is represented by Cersei, the daughter of Tywin. In the Lannister family, she is second in command. She holds great power, but when it comes down to it, Tywin always has the last say. Next is my grandparents, who are best represented by Cersei's twin brother, Jaime. Jaime is a well-achieved with good ideas, but he is not always taken seriously when it comes to decisions and authority. He has an opinion, but it is never the leader in making decisions. Lastly is my siblings and I, who believe are best represented by Tyrion Lannister, the youngest Lannister child. He is well-rounded, smart, and kind at heart, but his family has never taken him seriously enough to see his worth. There has been times where his opinion were heard and has saved thousands, but those times are soon forgotten and is back to being a faint whisper in the background. As for my family communications, I feel like the Stark family also best represents mine, that I feel we share a diffuse relationship. We are not entirely open with every secret on the table, but we listen and we communicate well enough to understand and manage the needs of the whole family. Lastly, I'm going to go over the functions of my family. First, the physical maintenance and care of my members is represented best by the Stark family. They were always sure to be well kept, fed, and clean, being a high-born family. Likewise, I do not feel that I ever lacked in those qualities. Next is the addition of new members, which at this point in my life is best represented by weddings, such as the royal wedding between Joffrey and Marjorie. We are at the point where my siblings and I are grown, and most of us are on our way out of the house. New natural-born siblings is highly unlikely, therefore new members are brought in through new spouses to come along. Next, we have socializing of children. Nowadays, children learn socializing from school and meeting new people to find out who they are. But in Westeros, school isn't mandatory, but many people go to court to catch up on the gossip, meet new people, and keep up to date, which is a social. Next is the social control of members, which I believe is best represented by Septa Mordane. As I mentioned earlier how my mother had some of her qualities, and this is one of them. She is the one to keep the children in line, polite, and well-rounded. Next is effective nurturance, which is shown best by Marjorie Tyrell. She goes above and beyond to care for all around her. She not only attends to the physical demands, but spends time with others to get to know them and hear their story. She makes sure all needs are met. Lastly is the consumption and production of goods and services, which I believe is best represented by the Master of Coin, Peter Baelish. He's in charge of all that comes into Westeros and all that goes out. He provides funds and know-how for all that occurs and makes sure to keep everything in balance. That sums it up for my bird's eye view, represented clearly through characters in Game of Thrones. I hope you learned something about my family and enjoyed the journey. Thank you.